Hello, it's Anna Hill here with the Farming Today podcast. The University of Nottingham plans to close its agriculture courses. More than 3,000 people sign a petition against the move.
This is when we need great scientists, great trained farmers and farm business managers. And to me, it's just a real tragedy if this actually goes through.
We'll have more on that in just a moment, but let's start with dairy farming. All week we're looking at dairy in detail. While the number of dairy farms is falling, there are still some eager children wanting to carry on the family business. One such farm belongs to Rob Davis, the NFU Midlands Dairy Board chairman. He says he would be selling his cows if it wasn't for his son Harry wanting to carry on. Instead of selling the livestock, Rob's invested heavily to make sure the farm near Ross-on-Wye in Herefordshire is as robust as possible for the next generation. Bob Hockenhull reports.
The noise you can hear is the sound of dairy farmer Rob Davis's new anaerobic digester. The £250,000 investment means he can use the slurry from his 150 cows to power the farm.
So we put it in to secure the cost of our energy. We've been through some shocks with the Ukraine war where the energy shot up, and that put our business under pressure. By putting in an AD plant that runs solely off the slurry on the farm, we're not putting any feed into it from any crops, it's just the slurry that goes into it. That put a ceiling in our energy cost that we could project forward for 10 years, and we felt that that was the right thing to do for our business.
Methane gas produced in the anaerobic digester is fed into an engine which runs a generator.
So it produces enough energy to run the two robots that milk the cows, to cool all the milk, to keep the lights on and run any ventilation.
And you wouldn't have made this investment if you hadn't got your son Harry coming up into the business.
No, that's very true. We would have sold the cows, and all the hundreds of thousands of pounds that we spend on the farm with local businesses feeding back into the local economy just wouldn't happen.
Another step the Davises have taken is to grow all the cattle feed on the farm rather than buying it in, as son Harry explains.
It insulates us as a business from risk. It's by growing that feed ourselves, it insulates us from volatile markets. It also improves our sustainability significantly. We're taking out that transport emissions from that cycle.
You've done a degree at Harper Adams University. Given the climate, are you daunted in any way by carrying on the dairy business?
There are a lot of challenges coming down the road, but there's always been challenges and there's always been solutions. I'd like to think we're doing quite a good job of finding some of those solutions. There's more solutions to find, but yeah, if it was easy, it wouldn't be fun, would it? I see taking advantage of new technologies, new ideas as important, but also focusing on the basics.
The Davis family have always been forward-thinking. Rob says they've been milking with robots since 2009.
We try and reduce waste as much as we can and invest where we can to improve our efficiency, and a sustainable business is a long-term business.
And I know the milk price at the moment is low. How does that make you feel? What are your concerns over that?
Well, yeah, so the milk price is coming under pressure, and that's largely due to commodities such as butter and cheese prices being very low and production rising across Europe. So it's a supply and demand situation that we're in. Milk prices have always been cyclical, and so it will come and it will go. It depends what processor a farmer is supplying as to how hard you're hit with current milk price reductions, and it is a huge disparity on farm milk price. So it's a real concern. I expect we're going to see a recovery into next year, but whether that'll be in Q2, Q3, Q4, who knows?
Dairy farmer Rob Davis there. Cases of bird flu are still on the rise across the country, with outbreaks in all 4 nations of the UK, and housing orders for England, Wales and Northern Ireland are in place, meaning all poultry has to now be housed if the flock totals more than 50 birds. BBC Wales environment correspondent Stefan Messenger has been listening to the concerns of poultry farmers at the Royal Welsh Winter Fair in Builthwells.
Usually there'd be chickens running all over Alison Kennedy's farmyard and fields in the Llanvi Valley north of Bridgend. But here, as across Wales, they're having to be kept inside. It's to protect them from a highly infectious strain of avian flu.
We've had to put biosecurity measures in place as regards to the birds. We've had to keep them in. We've had to limit who can go in the sheds. It's a lot more harder, don't get me wrong, but if it's protecting the birds, it's what we got to do.
So the turkeys are in lockdown at the moment.
In Tremaine, Ceredigion, Kate Postance is rearing 500 turkeys ready for Christmas.
You know, it would break my heart to have to tell our customers, I'm really sorry, we don't have a turkey for you. It's just unfortunate that this is carried by wild birds. You know, seagulls were so close to the coast. You know, we've not been to the beach all summer because we knew it was there or potentially there. If we ever, or if any of our birds contracted it, I don't see a way back from us, because it would just be financially and emotionally, I think, too draining.
Since October the 1st, the start of a new bird flu season, there have been 50 cases recorded across the UK, including 7 in Wales. Industry leaders warn it could be one of the worst years yet for outbreaks of the disease, with devastating consequences for the affected farms.
I cannot overemphasise the concern out there.
David Jarrett is NFU Cymru's National Food and Farming Advisor.
More than anything, it's the random nature of the disease. You don't know where it'll turn up next. We'd like the results published earlier, and then if you get that information, that will be a huge benefit for other poultry producers.
Affected sites so far include a poultry unit with 31,000 turkeys near Milford Haven in Pembrokeshire, and another with 32,000 egg-laying hens near Cynwyd in Denbighshire. A site with 28,000 broiler chickens reared for meat was hit near Welshpool in Powys, while smaller farms and so-called backyard flocks have also been affected. Wales's chief vet says he and the Welsh Government are working closely with the industry, and farmers should do everything they can to protect their birds.
Richard Irvine, Chief Veterinary Officer for Wales. So, unfortunately, this year we've seen a number of cases of bird flu in Wales, but also in other parts of Great Britain. And we're seeing an uptick in those cases a little bit earlier than last year, and that naturally is a concern. The housing order has now come into force.
Longer term, is there a way out of this, or is it just something farms are going to have to get used to every year?
There are patterns that change year on year with regard to bird flu, but alongside that, one of the pieces of work that we're doing on a UK basis is the UK Vaccine Task Force for avian influenza. So that's ongoing work. That UK Vaccine Task Force published a report early this summer looking at the direction of travel with the possibility of vaccination being used for bird flu. So that's one option that may come to the fore in the future. The here and now, however, is that we are seeing an uptick in bird flu cases, and consequently for all poultry keepers, whatever your type of flock, whatever your size of flock, to do everything you can to protect your birds through the best possible hygiene and biosecurity measures.
That report from BBC Wales environment correspondent Stefan Messenger. Despite a rise in the number of students taking up agriculture degrees over the last couple of years, not all courses are growing. In the next 2 days, the University of Nottingham will decide whether to close its agriculture and business course at its Sutton Bonington campus. The university says applications for its farming courses have dropped, making them less financially viable. In a moment, we'll hear from Sir Peter Kendall, former National Farmers Union president, who studied agriculture at the university. But first, Herbert Pickford is a fourth-year agricultural student at Nottingham. He's now started a petition to stop the course being suspended.
I mean, when we heard the news, we were all a bit shocked when we knew we needed to do something. We're over 3,800 signatures now, but from the responses I've got from the university so far, it doesn't really seem to be enough.
What have they said to you about the course, about why they're suspending it?
Primarily, it's the economics of it. Currently, universities all over the country are really struggling at the moment with their finances. So the fact that the agriculture courses aren't viable due to a low number of students has meant they're earmarking it as one of the first things to go.
How many people are on that course at the moment?
So across all 3 years, it's just over 50, I think 53. That's about 20 and third year and second year, but only 13 in first year.
It sounds like it would be actually quite expensive to run.
So it's quite hard to argue against that, but it's really frustrating because the university haven't really advertised it very well within the farming community. Its real USP is the fact that it's a real academic agriculture degree. The amount of research that goes on here, the lecturers you're taught by, it's a very, very high-level academic course.
And what's the mood then amongst the students who are doing agriculture?
A lot of the first years, it's a lot of trepidation, really, because there's not going to be any students coming in underneath them. When they come to be in their final year, there will only be 13 people in their year. What will that be like? They're not going to have the same relationships with younger years within agriculture. They're not going to have the same vibrant agriculture society we have at the minute. And looking at their teaching experience, will the lecturers stay on?
Agriculture student Herbert Pickford. Well, Sir Peter Kendall is a former NFU president and honorary professor at the University of Nottingham, where he studied agriculture. I asked him if closing agriculture courses there was the right thing to do.
There's a lot of chatter going on about parts of these courses can be picked up. But what I understand, and I understand the council's meeting today actually, is this final decision is going to be made, is they are going to stop their straight agricultural course and their agricultural business management course. And these courses bring everything together. Yes, you could look at some vet science or animal science somewhere, or a bit of husbandry or nutrition, but the challenges facing the world today of feeding what's forecast to be 10 billion or the 70 million plus in the UK is one of the biggest challenges facing mankind. This is when we need great scientists, great trained farmers and farm business managers. And to me, it's just a real tragedy if this actually goes through.
Nottingham University say the reason is there are too few people on the course. There's no stream of funding coming in there.
Look, I think we see peaks and troughs in agriculture. There is a bit of a time at the moment where, because some of the mood around the industry is quite downbeat, that we send that message externally as well. But these are the courses that is training our farmers and practitioners for the future.
What happens then if this closes? How does that impact farming as a whole? Because we're not talking about a really large number of people here, are we?
No, and actually really what we're asking is of the Nottingham University Council is to actually make sure it's doing the right thing. They might kick the tyres again and come back to the conclusion they shut the course down. But at the moment it feels like this is quite a quick decision that hasn't been consulted widely, that hasn't talked to other partners within the industry. So, yeah, you said if it's not a massive number of students, it's not going to be critical here and now, but we're losing critical capacity. And that's the thing that's a real shame. And I went to Nottingham back in the end of the 70s, early 80s, massively influential in my career. And I just want to make sure that before they make this decision, they know they've understood all the implications of it.
Sir Peter Kendall. And that's all from us today. I'm Anna Hill. The producer was Rebecca Rooney. Farming Today is a BBC Audio Bristol production.